Okay. You ready?
Yeah, I might be a bit armpity. Sorry about that. Me and my deodorant became separated over the course of this trip.
The Cricket Sadist Hour. It tastes like cricket.
Welcome to the first live recording of the Cricket Sadist Hour at overlooking the Point. Is that what it is, the Point? Why is it called the Point? You actually can't talk. You haven't been. I haven't told them who you are yet. So we'll get to him in a moment. But we're in Manchester. We're in a little room.
At this point, they're thinking you're with Brad Pitt.
Everyone is.
I've just blown it with the accent.
Damn it. Hugh Grant is beside me. No, I could pick someone better looking. Who would you rather be if you're an English
He's
actor?
15 years older than me, so that's something like that. Anyway,
You're probably more Colin Firthish, aren't you?
I don't know.
Anyway, we're in Manchester. It is gorgeous George Dobell who is with me. We've made our way up from the Hotel Campanile to the ground. Let's talk Ashes, George. Come on. Let's. Did you think Australia would be this bad coming in? Because you said 10-0, but did you think they would be like they were at Lord's?
No, I didn't. And I didn't really. When I said it, I thought it might be 10-0.
No, I don't remember the word "might" being used, but sure, that's
Well,
right.
to be fair, I haven't been wrong yet, have I? On
I'm
this?
not saying.
There's a couple of bits of logic to it. One, I'm asked for predictions all the time. That's no doubt you are. And I don't really like to give them.
Yeah, I hate giving. Let's talk about how we don't like predictions. It's so
So-
silly
well,
because how do you know if Glenn McGrath's going to trip on a cricket ball?
It was nonsense.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. But I can't say that 3 times a day. And it is probably twice a day I'm asked to do it, yeah, realistically.
On the street? Because you're quite famous in your local boots, aren't you?
nonsense. Was that mix-up over prescriptions? So I have this method of just saying England will always win by the maximum margin for various reasons. One of them is that I have to see the players and what have you every day, or quite often, and then they know that you haven't rubbished them. Do you know what I mean?
So you actually said
it's
10-0
actually
to
a
suck
formula.
up to players.
Not to suck up, just to get rid of the question and move on to the next one. But also, there's some logic to it. I mean, I said that England would win 3-0 in Pakistan, yeah? In the UAE, which clearly I got very, very wrong. But the logic of saying they'd win 10-0 is I think they're a 5 or 10% better side than Australia, probably 5%, and we don't see many draws anymore. Almost none, yeah? Unless it rains. And we're in a fairly decent period of weather, apart from the rain outside as we speak. But
They literally just put the cover back on.
yeah. But the forecast is good and has been very good for a while. So we shouldn't see that many draws. And England the better side, so it sort of stands to reason that you'd expect them to win. And if you think they're the better side, why would you say it would be 3-1? I mean, why would Australia win one game? Really? I'm not saying they won't, because cricket's obviously unpredictable, and that's part of its wonderful charm.
But there's also, I think, the way I've been trying to explain it is that England's a better side. I don't think anyone believes anything different, and that cricket has changed in that it's far more professional and far more well run. Even
In England?
Well, around the world, though.
It's not in Australia.
No, but it was compared to what it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, cricket has changed a little bit, and you don't have players going out and getting drunk, or, as I said on the BBC, on the piss, and then losing a test later in the series. England aren't going to probably do that, I don't think.
Well, they'll have the odd day or two where they go out and have drinks together, of course. I mean,
No, but you know what I mean. They won't.
Yes.
They won't take a test off.
It's not like no, quite.
Which is what used to happen a lot more.
I would say, look, I don't think England probably have 3 great players in their side, and 1 or 2 others who are very, very good.
So Trot.
The great players, I would say, are Cook, KP, and I would argue Swan.
Okay.
I'd say Anderson's bowling like a great player at the moment, but if you look at his career and the
average of 30.
Yeah, the average person has 1 ball and 1 tit, so you've got to be
No,
averages,
but when that's the problem with calling him a great, though, isn't it? Right there, it's like the Brett Lee argument. There are times when Brett Lee was a great cricketer.
But to be fair, I did say he's bowling like a great at the moment.
Yeah, no.
I think if you look at
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I know.
You really thought I was going to attack you?
No, we're so close. I don't think I've ever been this close to
We've been far closer.
Condom.
Do you?
Yeah, but we were. I think I was.
Do you remember being under the umbrella together?
Yes, when it was raining.
Yeah, we were much closer that day.
We were pretty close.
But no,
Still smarts.
I'm agreeing with you because it is hard to see him that way. But at the moment, I think he's the most important player in the series by a distance.
Anderson?
Yeah.
He has been so far, yeah. But then Ian Bell's had a brilliant series as well. But so I think England have 3 probably great players and 2 or 3 who are very, very good. Trot's in that category. And Australia probably have 1 very good player I don't think they've got a great player.
You don't even think Clark's great?
No.
I don't think
but
he is over
But I
his
think
entire
he's probably
career.
borderline.
I think, like Anderson, I mean, he's injured right at the moment, but up until right now, I think he was playing like a great.
Yeah, I
the
agree.
biggest problem with
But it's
Michael
about winning
Clark,
games.
it is, and also, although he did, all of his other big scores won games for Australia, didn't they? Or
In the last 18 months or so.
Yeah. Before that, don't get me started on Michael
and he is
Clark.
batting at 5, and he probably needs to bat at 3 or 4.
Exactly, but I suppose that the major problem with Clark is that his overseas record is not that spectacular, which can happen. A lot of Australian cricketers have this, inflated averages, but a lot of the averages are inflated back home.
He's a really good player, and I don't want to suggest anything other, but I think the burden on him is crazy. And
He sort of wanted it though, didn't he?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But you have to be a wee bit careful what you wish for. He wanted to be captain, but he didn't want to be captain of a rabble. And the problem is
But he's created that for himself as well.
He has a bit,
Simon Caddick should be a handy player out there.
And Hussey.
Yeah, and there's obviously he doesn't always play well with others. I mean, I think we've got enough anecdotal evidence.
I
now
think we
to
have.
back that up.
It's difficult as someone who sees him rarely at press conferences when he comes across so well.
Yeah, he's very well trained though.
Well, that's the cynical interpretation.
Yeah.
But as you know, I'm a very bad judge of character,
And
to me, he comes across very well.
Yeah.
And so, I haven't really needed to look into the Australian team in the depth that you have.
I've tried not to.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't have anything to add to all those people who have written and talked in such depth about the Australian team. But fairly clearly, there's something fundamentally wrong with Australian cricket at the moment. It's pretty obvious. I think the selections are bewildering and dreadful. I think the Ashton Agar selection is as bad a selection as I've seen for a long time. Worse than Darren Pattinson. Much, actually.
And you think it was worse than Darren Pattinson because
Darren Pattinson was actually playing very well
Yeah.
in English cricket at the time. People say he wasn't English, but he was born in England of 2 English parents, which makes him pretty damn English as far as I'm concerned.
well, you've got an
I'm
Australian who lives
not
in.
saying it was perfect, because he jumped ahead of Tremlett, I think was named in the squad originally, and that was unhelpful to Tremlett. So, but let's not talk about Pattinson. But Agar was selected as a spinner for the first test of a series. He's played half a dozen, maybe 10 first-class
I think
games.
he played 11, hadn't he? Yeah,
Okay.
roughly.
Okay. And he impressed with the bat. I mean, he did. He played like a talented young man with a decent future, which is what he is.
He played a bit like how I've seen Chris Wokes bat at times, which is that sort of freedom of batting in the middle to
that's
late
not a bad
order.
shout.
They're very good athletes.
But he was
They're
picked
very
as a
natural.
bowler.
That's the thing, though, isn't it?
And he might well be a decent bowler in a while. But this experience, I don't believe, will have helped him at all. I think the media pressure on him for the rest of his career will be immense. And I thought it was a ludicrous selection, a real shocker, in that they're now almost certainly going to have to turn back to Lyon. And you wonder how he feels about... there must have been some times he's been sitting in his hotel room on this tour, which is already, they've been here 5-6 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe longer, actually. Was he in there?
Was he Australian A? He might have been Australian A.
So he's
He's
been
just
here for-
always on tour.
Yeah. So he's been here for weeks, and he must have had some dark nights of the soul, thinking they've picked an injured teenager who's hardly played instead of me.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're asking a hell of a lot for him to come out into a Test match here, particularly as an offie. Off-spin's almost a dying art, traditional off-spin.
Yeah.
Which is why I've got such respect for Graham Swan. And I think Nathan Lyon's a half-decent bowler. He's an all right cricketer.
Yeah.
But have they given him the best chance to perform coming into a Test match? And I'd argue very strongly that they haven't. That's the job of the management, really, isn't it, to create the environment in which players can flourish.
Well, this is it. I got a text from someone recently after I read my piece, and I should get it out and read it because I don't want to. I'm not going to say who it was, but I don't want to misquote what they were saying. But essentially, if they thought at any stage that Agar was going to play, why wasn't he playing in India? They picked 3 other spinners in India. Maxwell played.
Well, you know
Doherty
the
played.
answer.
Lyon played.
Because it's chaos and they're looking for shortcuts to respectability all the time. And actually, they're making a mistake that England made in the past, that the Ashes series is disproportionately important to England and Australia. And it damaged English cricket for years. And I still don't think, we've had this argument before, I still think the Champions Trophy is the most important cricketing event of this English summer. England didn't win it, and winning this series, which I suspect they will not make up for it.
I agree, but I think you're wrong, obviously.
Everyone thinks they're wrong, and that's fair enough.
As did the player who almost died laughing when you put that to him.
Who's that?
Oh, do you want me to say who it was?
Yeah, I don't mind.
You said that to Jonathan Trott, and did he reply with a shocked expression? And
I can't remember.
yeah, well, that's what you told me.
Yeah, well, no, you're probably right. I think you're right. Yeah.
But I think you're 100% right, because if you look at it, what Australia could have done is said, we're playing a better opposition. We've got 10 tests against them. Let's see how we go with our best team. If that doesn't work, what we can do is actually try and build up something here. We've got a new coach. We've got a new outlook. I mean,
But wait, sorry to interrupt. They say that this tour was the tour they planned for more than any other.
Yeah.
And the planning went into great detail. Well, then why did they change their opening batsman? Why did they change their coach? Why did they change their wicketkeeper? Why did they change their spinner? That's not planning. That is chaos and panic. And there's not a quick route back to being a consistently good side.
but that's what I'm saying. They've got 10 tests, though. What they have
More
is...
than that. I think we're talking 10 years.
No, but they've got 10... No, I don't think it will take that long.
Well, there's no reason. I can't see any light at the end of the tunnel, to be honest.
Oh no, I think they've got a lot of young quick bowlers that are coming through, and I think young quick bowlers who turn into quality players can change your side very quickly. I think the West Indies, part of the reason that they're a far better side now is because they had a bunch of quality quicks come through. They're maybe not quite at the level of...
It's also because they picked a hard coach. Well, a coach, doesn't really matter how hard he is, but he is, and they stuck with him.
Yeah.
And they've got rid of the internal. Well, they haven't stuck. I mean, do you think they'll stick with the current coach? They might.
Lehman.
They might.
Yeah, I think he'll be around for a while.
Okay, he might.
I mean, Nielsen got a fair run, to be fair, and I thought Nielsen was a poor coach who didn't make the hard calls and wanted to be friends with the players. I thought Mickey Arthur came in and they wanted the opposite of Nielsen, and he tried to be that. He tried to be the analysis coach and the disciplinarian, and that didn't work. I think Australians feel better when they've got an ex-legend coaching because it just makes them feel better.
Is he an ex-legend?
Lehman?
Yeah.
I think he is too.
I think he was a wonderful player, underrated as a player. But his international record isn't legendary.
Not his international record, but one day he was pretty good.
I know he was a really good player.
No, but I think he's a legend in the sort of the same way that I suppose he's like
some of them would have played against him, seen him as they were coming through the development ranks, known how good he was.
No, I'm more talking about the way that the fans would have seen him. He was chubby. Yeah. He was beer smoking.
Yeah,
which is a weird thing. Yeah,
we should try that.
Yeah. What would it be like, off a spoon or something? Anyway, weird drug reference then. But essentially, I think that for Australian public and for the Australian media, who can be quite reactionary in that sort of way, they've got someone who they know, who they trust, and who's been around for a while. I think he was the highest run scorer in Shield cricket, maybe when he retired. He's a bit of a legend in that way. He's then come into Queensland. He's won I think he won an IPL. You can win an IPL, that's fine. But he changed Queensland around. Queensland did not have a champion squad. They're not like Warwickshire, who put together this amazing team. What he did with Queensland is he took a lot of average cricketers and turned them into a really good team. Mm-hmm. So he's got everything in that side that's right. What he hasn't got right is that he clearly didn't want the squad that he came over here to coach.
Yeah, sure.
Because he picked two players straight away who weren't in that squad. He clearly wanted to make a big statement with Shane Watson, which I personally believe has failed. He clearly wanted to move on from Ed Cowan, which is fair enough, but he went to Chris Rogers, and now it looks like Chris Rogers can't play Graham Swan. There is a possibility...
Mr. Full-Tarson.
It's the way I don't even think it's the way he's going out to him that's been the problem. Okay. I don't think Graham Swan's bowled very well, and I think he's had Chris Rogers.
Best, and that's this.
But my point is, he's made everything that Lehman's done has sort of been a bold statement. Like Agar was a massive statement.
Kawaja.
Yeah, and then Stark even. Stark won test, didn't go the way they wanted. Ryan Harris came straight back.
Do you know the funny thing about Stark is he only bowled badly on one morning. He bowled fine the day before. He came back the next morning and he bowled quite poorly, which will happen.
And look, we talked about it on Switch Hit, which is actually you think he should continue to bowl because they've got Watson there as their backup.
And his left arm, he's added something.
He's left arm crazy. Who doesn't want left arm crazy?
I think England would be pleased he wasn't in the side.
It's interesting. Brettig said if this pitch bounces, he expects Bird to play. But I mean, I think probably the bowler in world cricket, other than Morne Morgu, who gets the most frightening bounce at the moment, is Mitchell Stark. Because when he get those guys, when they get it to bounce, it just bounce. Oh, other than Muhammad Irfan, I suppose, but he's not really human.
I think Tremblett and Rankin would be
They're not quite in world cricket though at the moment.
No, probably not.
But you're right. I mean, Tremlett is different though, isn't it? With Stark and Morne Morkel, it's the Ambrose bouncing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you think I'm okay here, and then suddenly it just hits you in the chin.
Yeah, I suppose Finn should be like that in his best as well, shouldn't he?
Finn's action doesn't allow for it though. Neither does Broad's. I mean, you need, it doesn't. It's not just about being tall, is it? There's a lot of different things. There's wrist position, and let's talk.
I thought
just
Broad
about wrist
bowled
position.
fantastically well at Lord's, back to his best. You know, the fact that he hit Clark a couple of times, I thought was very encouraging. He used to hit people a lot when he was a young, really quite sharp bowler.
I think he bowled very well, but I don't think you can count hitting Clark. I'm
Because
pretty
you
sure.
think he was immobile.
Yeah, I think if you were bowling, I think you would have hit Clark with your little round arm.
Hit him right in the badge there, yeah. It's
That was
pretty
awesome.
unusual.
Yeah, but he went like this.
He did, yeah.
In case you're not sure how short balls hit you.
Yeah.
And I think, but I thought Broad bowled well. I still don't think that England has batted. I don't think they've batted over about 85% of their.
No.
And I know you still think New Zealand's bowling attack is better, but Australia's bowling attack just keeps cutting the top order's head off consistently in this series. Three out of 4 times, and the other time they didn't let England get away.
No, Australia bowled. To be fair, Australia probably bowled a few more 4 balls than New Zealand.
Yes, but they're different. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I think New Zealand's attack's underrated. So
I don't think it's underrated.
By comparing them,
Run those.
I'm not putting Australia down in any way at all. I think people are a bit patronising about New Zealand cricket. And New
I
Zealand
read this
always
article
produces
during the
bowlers.
Champions Trophy that said that not many people live in New Zealand.
Who said that? Did I write that? Well, they don't. I mean, the point is that if you compare their population to India's, there are more people living. I don't know. Loads more people live in Mumbai than live in New Zealand.
You'd have to think so. How many people live in Mumbai? 8 million? It's a big
How
place.
many people
isn't
live in the outskirts of? I mean,
It's a big place.
even more than that. So, and how many people live in New Zealand? 5 million?
I think it was 4.
Well, there you are. And there are lots of us abroad as well. Lots of us. Do you see what I did there?
I did see that. I like when you pretend to be New Zealand. It's like when you pretend to be a Somerset fan.
Nonsense. I am a Somerset supporter. Always will be. I just think it's worth remembering how New Zealand continually punch above their weight.
Yeah. But to bring that back to England didn't bat particularly well against New Zealand.
No.
And I don't think they've batted particularly. I mean, Ian Bell aside, I know Joe Root played one amazing inning.
Yeah.
Ian Bell aside, Trott's looked impatient. Cook looks to be back to. I mean,
I think
actually,
Trott looks in fantastic form, to be honest with you.
I think he's seeing the ball amazingly.
Yeah,
but
he's just giving it away. But I mean, that sort
but
of
it's
happens.
not really him.
Cook's not at his best.
No.
He's had 150. What you've learned about Cook, though, is just leave him alone. He'll be all right.
Oh yeah, I'm not actually drop Cook.
There was a piece on the site questioning the role of captaincy on Cook, but I didn't think Cook was a very
Did you
good.
write that?
No, Rob did. Rob Smythe did.
Oh, okay.
It's a good piece as ever with Rob's pieces, but I don't think anyone seriously suspects that there's any problem with Cook. No, I didn't used to rate Cook when he came to start. I'd have dropped him.
Adam Live.
I would, yes. Which, if I'm honest, I would. So ahead of the Ashes 2010, when he scored 760 odd runs. That was a smart call, wasn't it? And so I'm never going to doubt him again. Then I didn't think he would be that good a player in the ODI side, and he was made captain. I interviewed him once, and he phoned me back about 10 minutes later, and he was annoyed at something I'd said, and he had slightly misunderstood. I don't want to misquote him at all, but he thought I had suggested that Trott should be in the side, because I said that he and Trott would do a similar role. This is when Cook was first appointed captain. And I think he knew that I sort of got on quite well with Trott and stuff, and he thought I was being two-faced. I think that's what he thought. And actually, I meant that he shouldn't be in the side because Trott just did everything that he did better. But Cook has developed into a really, really good ODI player, and every obstacle you give him, he clears. And I think he'll do the same with captaincy. I think we've seen him go from a formulaic captain by numbers character to one who is slightly less formulaic. But that's okay.
I'm not seeing that side. Really.
I think he's going in the right direction. Definitely an ODI.
It's very hard to become a more progressive captain the longer you do it.
Look, England.
England
don't play that type of cricket.
Yeah.
They play KP apart. Very attritional.
True.
Percentage, wear them down cricket, and that's fine. I think that's their strength. They've got a lot of players who are good at that. That is the Cook Flower image. Look, this is a team in the Andy Flower image.
Oh yeah.
And Cook is a
One
player
of them
in the Flower.
smiled before he was shot.
Yeah, they're not a squad that are full of joy, and maybe that's why they won't ever. Before the Champions Trophy, I thought they were probably favourites. Well, until KP was out of the squad with injury, I thought England were probably favourites. And to be fair, I think they still would have won with KP, if I'm honest. But I don't mean to be churlish about it. But no team, I don't think, has ever won one of those tournaments playing the style that England play. Certainly, all the teams I can think of have had, the World Cup winners, they've all had a bit of genius in them. They've all had someone like Viv, or they've had someone who could, or Gilchrist, who could play an incredible innings.
If you just go through World Cup finals, you basically got you've got Dhoni, then you go back to
Viv,
Gilchrist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you just go back even like through the years.
The '83 one is different. India beating.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And '99 was McGrath with the ball.
That was just, again, might be slightly an aberrational one.
Yeah, but generally
But I'm talking about getting to the final as well.
Mm.
And the way that England play, which is generally, if a player plays a great innings against them, as Sangakkara did at the Oval in the Champions Trophy, they'll probably lose. But you have to play great against them. So for England, for many years, were just a poor side. I grew up watching a very modest side. In the 90s, they were sometimes pathetic.
Mm.
And they would go on tours of Australia saying, we want to compete. Jesus Christmas. I mean, it set the bar higher. So they didn't even expect to win for years. And they would go to, the 99 World Cup, they were knocked out before the theme song came out.
It was a theme song?
Yeah, by
by
the guy from the Eurythmics, Dave Stewart.
You didn't write it. But I want to talk about this genius thing you talked about, because I think it's really important the way that Darren Lehman and Australia are now trying to do this. So I think they've worked that out as well, and that's what they're trying to encourage, and I think that's why Agar played, and I think that's why even Stark played, and why Steve Smith played. Is what they're thinking is that they're basically chasing something like that.
I think you're playing free and easy with the word genius.
No. But we're talking about two different things here. We're talking
I'm
about
not just talking flair.
No.
They've all got flair.
But they think that Steve Smith has a certain kind of genius to him. They think that Phil Hughes has a certain kind of genius.
No, they've both got some flair, but there's a massive gap between that and KP.
But that's not the way that you're talking common sense and you're using most of your brain when you say that. I'm saying the Australian team is thinking about
I don't think
way. That's why Agar
England
played.
play the hand they're dealt. Australia are playing the hand they wish they were dealt, and that's my fundamental problem.
Yeah, and I think it's also because they see England as this conservative side, and they're thinking that if we just keep pulling rabbits out of the hat, eventually one of the rabbits will grow fangs and bite their throats off.
Yeah,
and they're running out of rabbits, and that's why I think Dave Warner will probably play in this test if he's
We saw the best example of it when England beat India in England, actually, because that Indian side was full of flair, it's bursting with flair. I mean, which side would you rather watch? That batting, you'd love to watch that Indian side.
I'd rather watch Trott than BBS Laxmi.
I loved watching Trott. I don't understand people who say that he's dour and stuff. If I'm honest, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I sort of dismiss people mentally who are negative about Trott. It's like when people say to me, I hate Bob Dylan, he can't sing. Just a light goes off in my head. Just move on. Sorry, is that my phone? It's like that.
I left the oven on.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah, so they when they beat India, England, that was kind of the classic example. They wore them down. Actually, India were the better side for the first test and a half. People won't remember that. And they didn't play that badly. And it wasn't that easy. They just kept grinding.
It's halfway through Trent Bridge.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Probably the broad hat-trick changed it. And then I don't think India won another session. They would go that far in the whole series. Because they were broken. And I suspect that's what happened at Lord's to Australia. Because they competed until then, really. And there have been lots of admirable things. The bowling attack, it's to be fair, it's pretty much what I said to you before. Good, strong boys, willing. You can't argue with any of their main seamers. They've all done a decent job. They just lack a bit of skill.
We have no idea when that battery went flat.
The battery, it wasn't the battery, it was just the camera just lost the will to live.
I cannot record two men this sexy for that long. It's just overloading.
I was going to go another way with it.
Yeah, I know you were. That's why I took it that way. Reverse swing. So, like you said, so England essentially almost feared it for ages.
They
and
did.
Then
They
they
not
learned
just
it.
feared it, but they mistrusted it.
But I've
And
seen.
probably Troy Cooley changed that.
I would say in the late 90s that in Shield cricket, Tasmania and Victoria especially mastered reverse swing.
Whether they were doing it then, I'm not suggesting they were, because I didn't see that, so I just don't know enough about it. But whether teams then were doing all sorts of dodgy things. So the classic thing, people might know this already, so I'm patronising, is to have a plaster on your hand and have a little bit of, or several bit of plasters on your hands. Oh, I've cut myself fielding, and have sandpaper underneath it. And loads of people used to do that. Not suggesting any particular country, any particular bowlers. That's just the way it used to. And I can make the ball reverse swing if I do that, eh?
Have you tried it?
Yes.
Can you actually make the ball reverse swing?
I used to be able to.
You've got
a
the
million years
perfect
ago.
action.
No, I didn't
to
used
do
to have that action, though. That's only because I'm knackered. Old. It's 20 years since I've been able to play. So, and I was never very good. So there's a whole lot of reasons. But yeah, I could make it swing. Nowadays, I think the England bowlers know how to make it happen without doing any of that. So they bowl little cutters and they bowl cross seam rather. They'll throw the ball in on the bounce so it hits a dry, abrasive surface and all these sorts of things. It's not rocket science, yeah? And they're very good at doing it very quickly. They're not the only ones. Australia, they got some reverse at Trent Bridge, didn't they? Yeah, a little bit. And I still get the impression that they're just not as sophisticated a bowling attack as England, and particularly, you take Anderson out of the England attack and they're not nearly as sophisticated, but Broad knows what he's doing. I think he's an improved bowler. He's got that ball sort of holding its own against left-handers, which is quite new, which I've only seen in the last 6 months. It's a cracker.
I don't think that it's the bowlers who should be blamed, because if this is a skill that has to be taught to them, it should be taught to them at Shield level, at academy level, at junior level, that it actually should be filtering through.
Well, wasn't it Troy Cooley who taught the England bowlers?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Well, I don't understand.
And he's still working in Australia.
Now maybe
he's the Australia A coach.
Maybe these guys are just. I mean, some of the young Australian bowlers are players in development. So people like Cummins and Pattinson could be very, very fine bowlers in 5 years. Anderson was quite a.
It took Anderson a long time.
Took at least 31.
Siddle's not young though. Harris is not young.
No. Harris, what I think about Harris? I think Harris is a flawed cricketer. He's got a hell of a lot going for him. But there's a massive but. He just can't do it for long enough.
Can I just say, I don't think he has a massive but. I think he's got a beautiful inner core. Wait, I've got this text that I want to find.
Yeah, that's great video.
Australia just had 3 months in India, so you think they'd have decent plans for
Dry,
reverse swing.
abrasive wickets.
So, that's got to put.
And also
I
playing
don't know
spin.
why I couldn't just remember that.
And also playing spin.
I could have just.
I didn't think we could get closer.
I don't know what's happened because in some ways we're further apart, but we've never been closer.
It's beautiful.
But do you know what I mean? That's what bothers me the most. And it's all well and good to say Jimmy Anderson is more experienced and has learnt more about the game and whatever. But when the ball is not reverse swinging for Australia the way it is for England, that's when I start to think that planning and skills.
Well, wait, it doesn't always work. England didn't make it swing either way, conventionally or reverse, in New Zealand, and New Zealand did.
Yeah.
Anderson was there. So it's probably not an exact science. And we're seeing Anderson, certainly at Trent Bridge, I thought he bowled really brilliantly. Pretty close to his best, and these guys aren't quite. And also England are batting better. And when you've got a side with a bit more belief...
But they're not batting that much better.
No, but the difference is that when a wicket starts to fall for Australia, it has to be their tail who stops it.
Whereas Ian Bell stopped.
And Ian Bell, has played really, really well. And as did Root. The margins are never quite as big. Had Root been caught... I mean, I've heard this overplayed. Root obviously was missed on 8 by...
missed is a good word for it.
Well, the wicketkeeper's part of the problem, of course, with Australia. But anyway, he was missed on 8, and you hear people say, it would have been different. I think England were 250 ahead at the time. Because they didn't enforce the follow-on, did they?
Yeah, you're right. So they were
maybe more than 250.
They were at least 200 ahead, but yeah, it was more than that. By that stage, wasn't
so they probably had enough already,
yeah. Well, to be honest, I said they needed 180 at Trent Bridge, and it turned out they needed more. But yes, I think...
Look, I was surprised by how poorly Australia batted at Lords, because I remember when do you remember when the innings started? They said to you, if they don't get 400 on this pitch, they never will. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because it was ideal for batting, wasn't
Yes.
it? Nice, short, quick boundaries, decent pitch.
Come on.
And it was sort of weak, mentally weak, which is part of the problem with the management, though. You've got to stick with these guys. They're not going to get better for looking over their shoulder, wondering about their positions all the time. So certainly, you have to select people you think can grow into the role for a period of years. So personally, I think they should stick with Khawaja through thick and thin for a while. I mean, obviously, if
I
he's
just don't know if he's good enough. I haven't seen enough signs to show that he's a Test cricketer to me.
Well, I think he got 60 odd at Lords.
I wasn't very impressed with that innings at all.
He played and missed a lot.
Yeah.
But, and you can't just judge by the stats, you're absolutely right.
I've never seen an innings.
Nicely, but
I've never seen an innings from him where I thought to myself, this guy is a Test cricketer. When I saw Joe Root the first time, I was like, well, there's 10 years of watching Joe Root. I literally think I tweeted during his first Test, I hope people don't hate Joe Root because they're going to have to get used to seeing him. First time I
remember thinking, oh my God, what am I going to write about him for the next decade?
Yeah. I remember, same with James Taylor. I remember thinking the same with Michael Clarke. Like, you get those feelings with certain players.
You liked James Taylor very early on, didn't you?
Yeah, really. I really do like him as a cricketer. It's actually hurt me physically that he hasn't been in the side.
Yeah, they've got him wrong.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's going to play here, unless KP really is injured.
Which we think he is.
I
So by
don't
the
know.
time this comes out, he'll be playing. But when you look at those guys, you see Test cricketers, and I haven't seen that with Hughes, Smith, or Khawaja. So I think just sticking with them for sticking with them's sake maybe isn't the best way to go. I like Joe Burns, but he just averaged about 15 in county cricket, didn't he?
30 odd, I think. Yeah, I mean, he had a modest series. Yeah, modest.
He's the one I think they should have thrown him in because
It's 23 though, yeah?
Yeah.
So, and he may well have benefited from this experience.
at least be in the squad, I would have thought.
He was injured now anyway, so...
And he only got injured playing 2020 cricket, and as everyone knows, that is the reason Australia's bad.
Yeah. Robson's an interesting one.
You want to talk about Robson?
I can't talk about Robson.
Well, then why tease them?
Because I can't talk about Robson until later.
I think Robson will be very good at the Gabba, opening and batting for Australia.
Well, I do think he is good enough to play Test cricket successfully.
There's actually 3 Robsons out there. There's Robson, there's Jordan Silk, and there's Alex Doolan. All of
We know
which...
Robson. I haven't seen Sam Robson's brother. I think he has a brother called Alex. Doesn't he? He was at Leicester.
Really?
He's got a brother who's at Leicester, I think. So, it's sort of a family thing. And Australia will want to look at why that's happened.
And the last time Australia picked a batsman whose
Because
father...
they didn't know about it, did they?
No, they didn't. Last time Australia picked a batsman who was a...
Should we say how they found out about him? They found out about him on Cricinfo when he started scoring lots of runs for Middlesex.
Is that actually how they found out about it?
Yeah.
Sure, but they must have known who he was because his dad runs the indoor nets for New South Wales.
That's what he
So
said.
they literally knew he existed.
I don't know that they did.
Well, I mean, he must have walked past them in hallways.
If you don't... I was going to say, if you're a selector, you don't walk past someone in the hallway and think, I'll put them at number 3. Australian selector, you might.
To be fair, how else...
Imbers is walking around Tesco at the moment going, I'll have 2 fillets of fish, and you can bat at number 6.
Do you not remember Michael Beer?
That was a terrible impression of Imbers.
No, do it again.
No.
English sounds more English than you do, really.
Oh, look. He'll put that in.
He's never said all look.
He says, oh, look, all the time.
I'm going to listen. That's the end of the podcast. We'll see you soon. This is George's first attempt. You can vote for him on Twitter. If you don't think he should go, just give me a thumbs down emoticon. Is that a thing?
I don't know, but that sounds really harsh.
I will get rid of him anyway. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, pleasure.